You've got shit. I've got shit. We've all got shit. So let's therapize that shit with your host, me, Joy Gerhard. Me, Joy Gerhard. Please note, I am not a therapist. I cannot and do not diagnose anyone or prescribe anything. This is just me, someone who struggles with mental illness, emotions, and intrusive thoughts. This is just me, someone who struggles with mental illness, emotions, and intrusive thoughts, sharing what skills I've used and how I've used them. Also, trigger warning, in this podcast, I talk about sensitive topics including mental illness, suicidal ideation, self-harm, rape, childhood sexual assault, trauma, and more. I also swear here and there, so listener discretion is advised. If you're new to the podcast, some context for you. I've gotten a ton of value out of doing group therapy and watching others process group. I can see other people's patterns and behaviors much more clearly because they aren't my patterns and behaviors, but rather they're adjacent to mine. It's such a relief. I want to share this relief with you via this podcast, wherein I practice skills while actually in the thick of shit. Each episode, I typically do an introduction, then I play a recording of me actively dealing with shit. This isn't me talking about psychology or theories. I'm actually in distress, having strong emotions and strong urges. You're going to hear me crying, angry, numb, but my intention is always to move through and stick with me, and we'll actually come out on the other side by the end of the episode. Alrighty, let's hop to it. Welcome. You guys are getting me on a chronic pain day. So, really, anything positive. I'm just going to do this because I have therapy homework to address the chronic pain. Normally I would go through and when I'm quoting things, turn on reverb. Don't fucking have the energy for it. Or I might. If between now and when I publish this, I suddenly feel like loads better, I might go back and add the reverb. So we'll see. Anyway. Chronic pelvic pain. That will last anywhere from like 2 to 3 days to like 2 weeks. It took a very long time to diagnose, and the kind of consensus by weeding out all other possibilities is that it's a muscle spasm in my pelvic floor, and that by injecting Botox into it every 6 months, I can prevent my pelvic floor from spasming, and it's worked like a charm. It's been fucking great. The greatest thing ever. Like a charm. It's been fucking great. The greatest thing ever. Until this last time, when I got the injections, and then 2.5 weeks later, after Botox is already kicked in, pelvic pain. So I went to the ER a couple days ago, spent 22 hours there, had blood work done to check my liver and kidneys, had a urine sample taken to make sure it's not a UTI, had a regular ultrasound, a transvaginal ultrasound, which is fucking just so pleasant, so great. That's sarcasm. Had a pelvic exam, speculum, when the muscles are like clenched like a fist. It feels really fucking good. I was given, so many drugs. And no drugs touched it. No muscle relaxers, no pain medication, nothing. So I've been having a bit of a downward spiral mental health wise, because the pain is so we're gonna get pretty honest here for a minute. Content warning, trigger warning for suicidal ideation and self-harm. I know I have that at the top of the episode. I'm reiterating it here. Top of the episode. I'm reiterating it here. I get really bad suicidal ideation from this because I don't want to keep living. I think of that quote about seasickness, that at first you're afraid it's going to kill you. Afraid it's going to kill you. And then you're afraid it's not going to kill you. And that is true for seasickness, and that is true for this. It feels like somebody has heated it up over a fire until it's red hot, and then just repeatedly stabbing me in the pelvis with it without ceasing. I can't really walk right now. My hands, I'm eating. I have no appetite. It's rough, is really the take-home message here. It's really rough. I feel like shit. And I had an emergency call with my therapist today. To be like, okay, how do I survive this again? Because historically, once I started getting Botox, I have not had spasm. Except there were 2 times I got the Botox injections, and that the injections themselves caused a spasm, but it only lasted like 24 hours, if that. And we adjusted things, and that doesn't happen anymore. So for the last several years, the only time I've gone into spasm has been when the Botox has worn off. And so I was putting kind of all my eggs in the Botox basket. And to realize that actually it's not foolproof is it's really fucking scary and really fucking shitty. But I did it and continue to do it because I was like, but think of the relief you'll have. It's present moment discomfort for just months and months and months of relief. And now I'm having all manner of thoughts about what the future is going to look like. I just started seeing somebody a couple weeks ago. My first repeat sexual partner. Really only the second sexual experience I've had since my breakup with my former partner. And it's the only repeated. The multiple offender. He's not offensive. He's great. Multiple offender. He's not offensive. He's great. He's fantastic. So now I'm having all sorts of thoughts about the future and whether I can even continue to have sex. If this is what's going to keep happening. Catastrophizing thoughts. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to practice fucking radical acceptance. God fucking damn it. I didn't think it would be a good opportunity. My therapist thought it would be, but here we are. And I thought I would also share some tools that my therapist has been helping me develop around going by, as opposed to getting on the train. Because historically, if I've noticed that there is a hopeless train going by, I get on the train. And I'm like, well, that's what one does. Watch it go by and say, hey, look, there's the hopeless train going by. And I'm like, but don't I need to, like, describe it to you or tell you what's in the train, on the train, in those cars, whatever? And my therapist would say, nope. We don't have to, like, engage noticing that they're happening. So, a lot of the thoughts I'm having are about the future and about how I think the future is going to go. A lot of the thoughts I'm having are the future is going to go. A lot of the thoughts I'm having are seeking certainty. And it actually feels more comfortable to be engaging with a miserable certainty than uncertainty. Than uncertainty of any flavor. And that's one of the things my therapist has been working with me a lot on, is how much my brain really wants certainty. And I don't know that me or unique to people with autism or unique to people with mental health issues. I think that's the human condition, is that we want certainty. And we live in an uncertain world. I think that contributes to why religion is so part of us a certain amount of certainty around the afterlife, around that there is someone in control of this chaos. And not getting into, like, arguing whether religions are like gods are real or any of that stuff, but, like, I think putting that aside and just examining how one of the things that religion does for humans is it provides some degree of certainty. Because I think that's a thing of certainty. Because I think that's a thing our brains crave. And we don't know how tomorrow is going to go. My mom is watching My Cousin Vinny, the movie, right now. And I just heard the line down the hall. Are you sure? I'm positive. How can you be so sure? Which feels appropriate because we're talking about certainty right now. I want to know when this is gonna finish. I want to know how long this is gonna. Because the last time when it lasted more than a day was 14 days. And I remember I gave myself second-degree burns from having a heating pad, blisters up and down my thighs. And I actually preferred it because, hey, that's pain I have control over, compared to this pain that I do not have control over. And I'm real fucking angry about it. I don't know what causes it. I don't know what triggers it. There has never been a persistent cause or a persistent trigger. There's never even been, like, a suite of potential causes or triggers. It feels in every way totally random. And I don't like that. My body hurts so fucking much. And folks have suggested a variety of distracting sort of things, including, but not limited to, stand-up comedy routines. And I'm like, it hurts to laugh. It hurts to move, it hurts to sit, it hurts to stand, it hurts to walk. It hurts to exist. And it's very frustrating, like going to the, like, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm like, oh, there is something wrong with me. There's just not something measurable wrong with me. And everybody has their suggestions. Have you tried relaxing? Brilliant suggestion. You know what's weird? I hadn't thought about doing that. Shocking, I know. It seems like the absolute lowest hanging fruit, so low that a toddler would think of it. And yet I, after having dealt with this for 10 years, strangely have never had the thought, maybe I should just relax. In case that wasn't obvious. One of the things that's frustrating, I mean, there's like 7,000 things that are frustrating, but one of them is, and I keep thinking of this movie, this is a deep cut, leap, like late 80s, early 90s. A very, very young Liam Neeson is in it, a very young Deborah Winger. But he's a charlatan. He's a traveling, like, revival tent preacher dude who's a fake. And at one point, he's, talking about doing, having miraculous healings up on stage. And he says, well, if all else fails, we've always got our old standby. Your faith wasn't strong enough. And I think about that a lot. And what it feels like I go to the doctor and I try all these things. And then I interact with, friends and family and whatnot who ask, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Who ask, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And then they start looking for any possible explanation. And the things they're recommending are things that have worked for them. And rather than engage with the idea that maybe their body is different than my body, their wiring is different than their body is different than my body. Their wiring is different than my wiring. Their trauma is different than my trauma. Rather than engage with all of those unknowns, it's my fault. They make it my fault that I wasn't healed. They make it my fault that I wasn't healed by this objectively healing modality because I didn't believe in it enough. Or I had doubts going into it. So it's hard to have these conversations with people. It's also hard because I have really, really, really bad suicidal ideation. And folks want to try to problem solve that. You have so much... Folks want to try to problem solve that. You have so much to live for, Joy. The social worker I had at the hospital kept going on about how smart I was. You have a master's degree. So? So much to offer the world. Lady, I can't get a job. And even when I can get a job, I can't keep it. My parents don't want me to live here anymore. Having sex triggered something. Intense pain. So I can't do all my usual coping mechanisms like running stairs or weightlifting because I can barely stand. And I understand that typically when people offer, you have so much to live for sort of platitudes, that they're listing off the things that they think would be reassuring or comforting to them were they in my shoes. But those things are not comforting to me, as it turns out. And if anything, it gives my brain something to dig in against. And I get even more entrenched in my thought pattern. Because what would actually be helpful, you wonder? I'm sure you're wondering. I wonder that too. What is actually helpful? Well, I can tell you it's not helpful. A few days before this pain started, my mom told me about a group thread that she is on where a friend of a friend or of somebody was having really bad suicidal ideation and was asking for prayer from the group thread. And a bunch of people chimed in and was like, yeah, totally, we're going to pray. And Mom was very encouraged by that, by the overwhelming response of people, the overwhelming response of people wanting to pray. And the thought I had was, well, that's great, because prayer does such a great job of preventing school shootings. Surely it will help with suicidal ideation. And I asked that what I did actually say, because I didn't say that. What I did say was, did anybody reach out to them to offer support around therapy or some other tangible thing? And Mom said, nope, just offers to pray. So for me, if I share that I'm having suicidal ideation, somebody saying, oh, I'm going to pray for you, it's infuriating. It feels like they're a tourist. They're like, hey, we're not going to invest any infrastructure or any meaningful support to this place. Throw out some thoughts and prayers and then, leave our trash on the beach while we fly home. On the off chance that I'm sounding cynical, that means I nailed it. Joy. That's a bastardized Taylor Tomlinson joke. I am cynical. I'm really fucking angry. I'm angry at the sorts of things that people say. All these trite, hackneyed platitudes that add up to absolutely no meaningful action of any kind. And I get it. I get, what can anyone do? This is going to be a bit of a dark... this is going to be a dark episode. A lot of gallows humor here. So what would actually be helpful? Let's engage with that for a minute. What could somebody say to me when I'm talking about my really bad suicidal ideation? I don't want to live anymore with pain this bad. Because what the social worker said was, well, you've survived this pain before, so you can survive it. Uh-huh. That is true. But at what cost? And honestly, I don't know that this is effective for anyone else, but I think it's effective for me. Is just don't fucking argue with it. Don't argue with it. Just be like, oh yeah. Don't argue with it. Just be like, oh yeah, totally. I can totally understand why you would have that thought. I can totally understand why you would feel hopeless. I can totally understand that you would not want to survive this pain. That the pain is so bad, you'd rather just cease to exist. I can totally understand why not knowing when it would end, or if it will end, is also really fucking scary. Marathon? Is this a sprint? What is this? How do you pace yourself? Of course that's scary. Of course that's awful. Of course the pain reminds you of all the times you've been raped. Of course that's what exposure therapy and all that healing work around those sexual assaults. Of course, that would not be enough in the face of pain like this. Like, those memories are going to come up anyway, even after you did all of that work. Of course it hurts so much you can't stand. Of course it hurts so much you can't walk. Of course. Of course. Of course you've been dealing with this for 10 years. Over 10 years. And you thought you had it solved. And realizing it's not solved. Is fucking terrifying, because it feels like you're back to the drawing board. And of course that would trigger all manner of suicidal ideation. Of course you would feel alone. You don't know anybody who's experienced this. You hadn't even heard of it before your gynecologist diagnosed you. And there's no pelvic pain. Of course, the wait lists are really fucking long. And the doctors don't take your insurance. Of course, it's fucking scary. You wouldn't think it's worth waiting it out. That's another thing the social worker was like, you have so much to live for, you have so much to contribute to the world. And my mom is encouraging me to lower my stress level, because she's had really bad health outcomes from being too stressed. So if I could find a way to reduce my stress level, that would probably help. And it's a strange thing to hear from somebody who wants me to move out. And doesn't seem to notice that that request is contributing substantially to my stress level. Which isn't just, I mean, like, they can ask me to move out, sure, fine. It's their prerogative and whatnot, but to react to the resultant stress as though it's something that I can just stop feeling. And her answer for dealing with increased stress is to pray. And I don't want to bash anyone else's religion or faith or spiritual practice, but I am going to bash the fuck out of my parents because that's what, as a kid, it's what they used to justify their homophobia as adults, when I was an adult. So I have a beef. I have a bone to pick with their faith. No, it's just all of the shit that's coming up as a result of this not yet ending pain, which is different than never ending pain because move joy, ouch, oh my god, that I know how the future is going to go, and I don't know how the future is going to go. It is not yet ending pain. And of course, I'm having all the catastrophic thoughts. Hold on, I need to adjust again. And I'm gonna make... Oh, fuck. I'm having a lot of thoughts about how I think the future is going to go. And namely, thoughts that I'm certain of how the future is going to go and that the future is going to go badly. And that's fucking scary as fuck. I'm also noticing a lot of resistance come up right now to even the idea of doing radical acceptance. Because if practicing acceptance around this pain is actually what makes the pain go away, and have a lot of judgments about myself for not having done it sooner, isn't this fun? Isn't this fun, the way my brain works? That, like, somebody could offer a solution of, like, here's the thing that will solve it. And I would be angry at the solution because, like, here's the thing that will solve it. And I would be angry at the solution because the thing that would come up first is, why couldn't I have had that solution 10 years ago? I've been dealing with this pain for 10 years. And why couldn't I have had that solution 10 years ago? I've been dealing with this pain for 10 years. And you're telling me that a solution existed and I didn't take it? I didn't know it? And you're telling me that a solution existed and I didn't take it? I didn't know it? I didn't have access to it? So this pain could have been addressed? Acceptance here for a minute. So, for those who are following along in the DBT manual, well, let me give you my little spiel first. Hang on. Okay. You're gonna get the hold music while I look up. Yes, I know. That's my Emperor's New Groove reference right there. Here's my little standard blurb. Most of the skills that I reference on this podcast are from the DBT manual by Marsha Linehan. DBT stands for Dialectic Behavioral Therapy. I'll say that again. Dialectic Behavioral Therapy. Type of choice. The DBT manual is linked in the description, both in PDF form and where you can buy a hard copy. Whenever I'm quoting the DBT manual, or really anyone else's work other than my own, I turn on reverb. And again, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to do that this time. So I'll just have to... I'm quoting now. Let's see what else. I will be referencing handouts from several of the DBT modules in this episode, of which there are 4. Mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, tolerance. So when I mention a handout that I'm reading from, I'll say something like, this is from Interpersonal Effectiveness, handout 5, or whatever, so you can follow along if you're so inclined. Also, before I forget, a massive, huge, ginormous, tremendous thank you to Patreon supporters, both my sisters, Anne and Ruth, who've been there since the beginning and supported me since the beginning. I'm very, very, very grateful. It's what allows me to keep this podcast going even while not having a job, because you guys are covering the cost of the podcast host subscription. If you, dear listener, would like to support me in a similar way, the link to my Patreon is in the description of this podcast. Okay, so now moving back to this podcast. Okay, so now moving back, or moving on, or going back to whatever. We are going to distress tolerance, which is a phrase that it's hard for me distress tolerance, which is a phrase that it's hard for me to say. So, a quick overview. The distress tolerance are to survive crisis situations without making them worse, accept reality, replace suffering and being stuck with ordinary pain and the possibility of moving forward, and become free of having to satisfy the demands and intense emotions. Those are the goals of distress tolerance. And reality acceptance skills are useful because frequently we can't actually change about the world, about ourselves, about our environment, etc. And hold on. Adjusting again. All the aches and pains, dear God. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of things we can't change. So around that. And a significant amount of the suffering that I think a lot of people experience comes from refusing to accept reality. Now, there's going to be pain regardless. Like, you expected it's like Ray. That's another deep cut. Alanis Morissette, isn't it ironic? You had an expectation, things aren't going the way you expected, so you're bummed. Now, I don't know that radical acceptance stops you from being bummed, but what it does stop is the suffering that might ensue. It also helps me and you and whoever is using it. It helps us gain some clarity, I guess. Instead of I think of how a toddler is like, no, I want it to rain. I don't want it to rain today. It wasn't supposed to rain today. Why is it raining today? Getting stuck in that could ruin your wedding day if you were just gonna, be pissed off and frustrated all day. Or you can practice acceptance and be like, yep, and it is raining. And I'm feeling really bummed about it. And given that it's raining, what am I going to do now? Because I can't stop the rain. But maybe we can move indoors or put up a tent or get umbrellas or just accept that we're all going to get soaking wet and have fun in the rain and send everybody home with NyQuil and some hot cocoa. I don't know. So, yes, this is all a reminder. I'm saying this mostly to myself as a reminder to myself that, like, my refusal to accept what is currently so is actually increasing my suffering. And one of the things I'm trying to address, just in life in general, is not making a bad situation worse. And I think refusing to accept where I am is making a bad situation worse. So, let's talk about radical acceptance. This is Distress Tolerance Handout 11. Radical acceptance, when you cannot keep painful events and emotions from coming your way. What is radical acceptance? Radical means all the way, complete and total. It is accepting in your mind, your heart, and your body. It's when you stop fighting reality and stop throwing tantrums because reality is not the way you want it. What has to be accepted? Reality is as it is. The facts about the past and the present are the facts, even if you don't like them. There are limitations on the future for everyone, but only realistic to be accepted. Everything has a cause, including events and situations that cause you pain and suffering. And life can be worth living even with painful events in it. So, accept reality. Rejecting reality does not change reality. Changing reality requires the first accepting reality. Pain can't be avoided. It is nature's way of signaling that something is wrong. Rejecting reality turns pain. Refusing to accept a reality can keep you stuck in unhappiness, bitterness, anger, sadness, shame, and other painful emotions. Acceptance may lead to sadness, but deep calmness usually follows. The path out of hell is through misery. Misery that is part of climbing out of hell, you fall back into hell. I think a lot about, like, if you hate haunted houses, like the amusement park thing that you can go to around Halloween, but like, if you hate haunted houses and you're in the middle of a haunted house and you just go, I don't like it here, I don't want to be here anymore, and you stop moving, it just prolongs the amount of time you're in a haunted house. The effective thing to do is to keep moving. I fucking hate that. I hate it. It makes me angry. So something I always have to remind myself is that I'm accepting the facts. And the facts of a situation are not judgments, are not opinions. They are not predictions about the future. What the facts does include are how I feel, that I have a thought, i.e. that my brain is doing something, that I have an urge, that I have a body sensation. Yeah, and acceptance, another thing that acceptance is not. It's not denial. It's not righteous anger. It's not liking or disliking it. It just is what is so. Is what is so. So, the next handout, radical acceptance factors. Let's try that again, shall we? The next handout is Distress Tolerance Handout 11A, titled Radical Factors That Interfere. And you're going to hear a bunch of what I just read to you. Radical acceptance is not approval, compassion, love, passivity, or against change. Acceptance include: you don't have the skills for acceptance. You do not know how to accept really painful events and facts. You believe that if you accept a painful event, you are making light of it or are approving of the facts, and that nothing will be done to change events. This feels like a personal attack. Another factor that interferes with acceptance: emotions get in the way. Unbearable sadness, and in parentheses, it really should be nearly unbearable sadness. Anger at the person or group that caused the injustice of the world. Overwhelming shame about who you are. Guilt about your own behavior. And then there's a little box at the bottom that says other, like what is another factor that interferes with acceptance? Understanding of what I'm accepting. Which brings us to Distress Tolerance Handout 11B. Practicing radical acceptance step by step. And it's also worth noting that this is an ongoing process. I've never practiced acceptance and had it be like a one and done sort of thing. I have to keep doing it over and over and over and over again. I have to keep doing it over and over and over and over again. The little 5-year-old that I get to hang out with, I remember it was during bath time, and it was during bath time, and he asked if I ever got tired of, like, I think for him it was like, do you have to take a bath every day? Like, do you get tired of having to take a bath every day? Is what he asked me. And I'm like, oh yeah. I resent having to do. Like the fact that my hair grows. I mean, it's great. I would prefer that it grow to it not growing, because it's going to shed, and if it doesn't grow, then everybody ends up bald eventually anyway. But, at what cost? I hate that my fingernails keep growing. I hate that, I get out of the shower and I have to put lotion on. And the fact that I put lotion on yesterday doesn't preclude me from having to put it on today. I hate that I always have to keep brushing my teeth. Yes, it's lovely that I have teeth. And yes, it's lovely to use them. And I really wish I could just brush them once, and that would have me set for life. So there's all sorts of things I have to practice accepting over and over and over and over and over again. Which brings us to... Stop bumping things, Joy. Okay, hang on. We can do this. Can we do this? Are we going to do this? Yes, we are going to do this. There we go. Hey, look at that. I feel like a preacher with my little pulpit here. It's handout 11B. Practicing radical acceptance step by step. Step 1. Observe that you are questioning or fighting reality. It shouldn't be this way. Step 2. Remind yourself that the unpleasant reality is just as it is. This is what happened. Step 3. Remind yourself that there are causes for the reality. Acknowledge that some sort of history led up to this very moment. Consider how people's lives have been shaped by a series of factors. Notice that given those causal factors and how history led up to this moment and to occur just this way, this is how things happened. Step 4, practice accepting with the whole self, mind, body, and spirit. Be creative in finding ways to involve your whole self. Use accepting self-talk, but also consider using repetition, mindfulness of your breath, half smiling and willing hands, while thinking about what feels unacceptable. Prayer, going to a place that helps bring you to acceptance or imagery. Step 5, acceptance or imagery. Step 5, practice opposite action. List all of the behaviors you would do if you did accept the facts. Then act as if you have already accepted the facts. Engage in the behaviors that you would do if you really had the facts. Engage in the behaviors that you would do if you really had accepted. 6. Cope ahead with events that seem unacceptable. Imagine in your mind's eye believing what you don't want to accept. Rehearse in your mind what is unacceptable. Step 7. Attend to body sensations as you think about what you need to accept. Step 8. Allow disappointment, sadness, and grief to arise within you. Step 9. Acknowledge that life can be worth. Step 10. Do pros and cons if you find yourself resisting practicing acceptance. So, a couple that it mentions numbers 4. Opposite action is emotion regulation, and I'm going to be shuffling pages here. Emotion regulation handout 11, and there's a page for each of the main emotions, like what is opposite action for anger, etc. It also mentions coping ahead. Cope ahead is yes, emotion regulation handout 19. It is part of the Build Mastery and Cope Ahead. Ahead starts with a C. It's the ABC Please skills, which is accumulating positive emotions. That's the A. Building mastery is the B. Coping ahead is the C. Please is all like, tending to your body. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and then it mentions, willing hands and half smiling. That's distress tolerance handout 14. It has both half smiling and willing hands on there. And both of those things are basically like resting bowel a lot. My mouth naturally turns down at the corners. And when I'm upset, I tend to kind of fold in on myself. And so doing half smiling is basically like, hey, do something else with your face. And I don't like half smiling because to me that feels very gendered and like you'd be prettier if you said. What I do is I make my forehead go up like I'm surprised, because that stops me from scowling. So it's just do something different with your face. Do something on purpose with your face that is the opposite of what your face is currently doing. And then willing hands is the body. It's do something different with your body, like shoulders back, arms open, kind of like if you were carrying like 2 trays of food through a very narrow doorway. And it basically forces a more open body posture and breathe easier. Oh my God, the pain. Okay. So, getting back to practicing radical acceptance step by step, and I'm actually going to practice this in the vaguest possible terms. Because I notice that one of the things I do is I seek to understand, which is in and of itself not a problem, but when it gets in the way of me actually, like, accepting shit, I think it's a problem. It's in the way of me actually, like, accepting shit, I think it's a problem. So, I'm just gonna go through this vaguely. I will explain as I go. So, step 1, observe that you are questioning or fighting reality. It shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be this way. Abso-fucking-lutely, I observe that I am fighting reality. I'm having a lot of judgments, which is what a should is. It should not be this way. My body should not feel like this. It should feel better already. Pain should not be persisting. There should be an answer. There should be an obvious cause. I should have some certainty around this. I should know how long this is going to last. So yes, I am fighting reality. Step 2, remind yourself that the unpleasant reality is just as it is and cannot be changed. Yup. The unpleasant reality, my current pain level is as it is. Reality, my current pain level is as it is. And I cannot change my current pain level. I cannot change the pain level that I've been experiencing over the last few days. Can't change that. It's already passed. Level that I've been experiencing over the last few days. Can't change that. It's already passed. It's already done. I cannot change now, and I cannot change the past. I cannot change that I had those conversations with the social worker, with the doctor, with the doctors, with my parents. I cannot change that I ended up in the ER for 22 hours. I cannot change that my phone couldn't send or receive text messages during that time, and I had no way of contact to ask for support. That is what happened. And it was also really distressing. All of that was distressing. That is what happened. I was distressed. So much pain. And I'm having thoughts and feelings and urges around that pain. Step 3. Remind yourself that there are causes for the reality. Acknowledge that some sort of history led up to this very moment. Consider how people's lives have been shaped by a series of factors. Notice that given those causal factors and how history led up to this moment, this reality had to occur just this way. And I have over in the margins, all caps, no, underlined 6 times. I hate, underlined 6 times. I hate this one. Ow. God damn it. So, my pain is caused by something. Something is causing it. I don't know is also caused. Some sort of history led up to this moment. You know, that is a true statement. As it turns out, some sort of history did lead up to this moment. Some sort of history led up to the moment when the pain started. Some sort of history led up to the moment when sort of history led up to me sitting here right now in pain. Consider how people's lives have been shaped by a series of factors. Consider how my life has been shaped by a series of factors. That is also objectively true. My life has been shaped by a series of factors. My body has been shaped by a series of factors. My experience of the world has been shaped by a series of factors. My experience of pain, the world has been shaped by a series of factors. My experience of pain has been shaped by a series of factors. The doctors I interacted with, their lives have been shaped by a series of factors. My parents' lives have been shaped by a series of factors. Notice that given these causal factors and how history led up to this moment, this reality had to occur just this way. Where you hit the domino and eventually you're in an OK Go music video somehow. Given everything that came before, it makes sense that what is happening right now is what happened. Like pushing a glass off the counter is going to result in the glass falling off the counter. So something happened that caused this pain. Probably multiple things happened that caused this pain. And multiple things happened that caused my reaction. Let me say that again. Multiple things happened that caused the reaction that I'm having to this pain. My behavior is caused, my thoughts are caused, my body sensations are caused, my urges are caused. It all makes sense, given everything that came before. One of the arguments that I always have against that step is that, like, so what? We can't, like, and the distinction there is, sure you can. Like, let's say everything was the same. Let's say two events occur in exactly the same way. Yeah, like going to the grocery store. I went to the grocery store yesterday. Today, I'm going to go to the grocery store again. Am I doomed to have the exact same experience? Even if everything else is the same at the same time, the same sequence of lights at the stoplights, everything is stocked in the exact same way at the grocery store, the same people are there, the same cashiers are there. If everything else is the same, you know the one thing that's different? That I did this yesterday. So when I go today, my experience of the previous day is part of my experience of going today. And that's why time loop movies like the Groundhog Day, not the Groundhog Day, it's just Groundhog Day. Not the Groundhog Day, it's just Groundhog Day. Or Happy Death Day are so fucking good. Because the people learn, even though all of the circumstances are the same, day to day. You know, they wake up, put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hell. I can't keep singing or I'm gonna get, whatever. What these characters have each day is the memory. There is an opportunity for learning. One of the things that I struggle with like a fuck ton is thinking that this is just gonna keep going forever, that nothing has changed. That I'm a person. Who am I kidding? All my friends are mentally ill. Most people would say, yeah, but Joy, there are differences. From previous experiences, there are differences. Even if I can't see them, of course there are differences. I think because I seek certainty. Like, oh, this is exactly like last time, so of course it's going to go exactly like last time. And it's my way of trying to fabricate certainty out of fucking nothing. Because uncertainty around this level of pain, I'm having the thought that it's unbearable. Clearly, I've borne it before. I've survived it before. And it fucking sucked. And I'm really fucking mad that it's happening again. So let's talk about step 4. Practice accepting with the whole self, mind, body, and spirit. Be creative in finding ways to involve your whole self. Use accepting self-talk, but also consider using relaxation. Fuck you, DBT. But also consider using relaxation. Fuck you, DBT. Don't tell me to relax. Also consider using relaxation, mindfulness of your breath, half smiling and willing hands while thinking about what feels unacceptable. Prayer, going to a place that helps bring you to acceptance. Feels unacceptable. Prayer, going to a place that helps bring you to acceptance. Or imagery. I have a really hard time with imagery. Basically, my version of it is just conjuring up pictures that I've taken. So here I am doing willing hands, which is like having both of my palms up and like rotated out, like I'm holding trays of food. I have my eyebrows up to my hairline, so I look surprised. Hang on, I'm all tangled up. There we go. Part of the thing to accept here is that I also have thoughts and feelings about it. I have thoughts that this shouldn't be happening. I have judgments. That is, in fact, what's happening. I'm having those thoughts. I'm having feelings too. I feel scared. I feel angry. I feel sad. This is such a fucking bummer. I'm really fucking sad about it. That the things I don't get to do because I'm doing this. The ways it's disrupted my life and changed how I live. Because this is a thing that can just happen out of the fucking blue and suddenly I can't walk. That can just happen out of the fucking blue and suddenly I can't walk. Drinking water, Joy. This is your water break reminder to go drink some water. And I forget that my feelings about the thing are a part of the facts about the thing. That I'm disappointed. That I'm scared. And I have judgments that I shouldn't be scared. I shouldn't be disappointed. I shouldn't feel sad or feel... And I do. I feel all of those things. To varying degrees at different times for different lengths. And I'm having frustrating conversations with doctors and well-intentioned friends and family who very much want to help. and do not have the skills to help in any meaningful way. And I have thoughts and feelings about that. And I have thoughts and feelings about that. That is, in fact, what happened. What is currently happening? What is currently happening? I'm having thoughts and feelings about the situation, about my pain, about how other people are reacting to my pain. I'm having thoughts and feelings about my thoughts and feelings. The toddler that I spent time with, I don't remember what was happening when I was over there last. But he was starting to melt down over something. Like he couldn't watch TV or couldn't play a video game or something. And was real upset about it. And my reaction in that moment was, thing we want. Like, that's really hard. And sometimes we have really big feelings about it. Sometimes it's hard to feel those really big feelings and they feel too big. And that's hard too. And still the need to communicate with myself. I'm like, yeah, sometimes we're in pain. Sometimes we're in a lot of pain for a long time. And sometimes we don't think that pain is ever going to end. And sometimes that pain stops us from doing the things we would like to do. Stops us from doing the things we would like to do. And sometimes we feel disappointed by that and scared about it. Yup. Yup. Sometimes all of that is true. Sometimes we have thoughts and feelings about all of that being true. And that is part of the human condition, I reckon. And I don't like it. And I would like it to be different. All right, let's take a look at step 5 here. Practice opposite action. List all the behaviors you would do if you did accept the facts. Then act as if you have already accepted the facts. Engage in the behaviors that you would do if you really had accepted. So, if I really accepted that I'm in an extraordinary level of pain and I don't know when it's going to stop, I mean, I guess I would do what I've already done. I've already sought out medical care at the ER and ruled out all other possibilities. Urogynecologist, and filled her in and asked for her advice. And I have canceled everything else and I'm spending all day in bed. All day in bed. I'm having a lot of judgments and it shouldn't be this way. I should be better already. And if I accepted that this is how I'm feeling today and this is what my body can do, this is all my body can do right now. This is all my body can do right now. Then I would do that. And just be like, yep, I don't have capacity for anything else. This is what I'm going to be doing now. And I would allow my friends and family who actually do know how to support me in a meaningful way to support me in a meaningful way instead of arguing with them about it. So that brings us up to step 6, which is cope ahead with events that seem unacceptable. In your mind, what you would do if you accepted what seems unacceptable. So the thing that seems unacceptable is that this could continue happening, and I don't know when it will happen or for how long. Could be in pain again at a time that that will be a surprise to me. And how long it lasts will also be a surprise to me. Yep. This could continue to happen. And what would I do if I accepted that this could continue to happen? I would keep my friends and family abreast of that this is a thing and that it's possible that I will have to cancel something or change plans with very little notice. Have to cancel something or change plans with very little notice. And that there are certain things that I don't feel comfortable doing anymore, like hiking into the wilderness alone. Hiking into the wilderness alone. And that's a bummer. And I have thoughts and feelings about that. And I can continue to be in touch with my doctor and do my due diligence to rule out a bunch of other things. And I can continue to have the feelings that I have. I can feel afraid, and I can feel angry, and I can feel sad. And I can survive feeling those feelings. And I can acknowledge that this is not the life I wanted for myself. This is not how I thought it was going to go. This is not how I wanted it to go. And I have thoughts and feelings about that. Attend to body sensations. That's the next step. What are we on? 1, 2, 3. It's bonkers to me that this spreadsheet is not numbered. It's not a spreadsheet. 5, 6, 7. Step 7. Attend to body sensation as you think about what you need to accept. Mostly I just feel sad. Which is great because step 8 is allow disappointment, sadness, or grief to arise within you. I have got that covered. Step 9 is acknowledge that life can be worth living even when there's pain. That one I struggle with, especially with pain like this. And it's not like, the rest of my life is, my work situation and my financial situation and my health situation. I have a hard time imagining that my life is worth living, even when there is pain. But I suppose I have to acknowledge that I do not know how the future is going to go for myself differently, in a positive way, in a way that I cannot currently foresee. That is true. That could happen. And nothing good will ever happen is, just false. because I don't know the future. I can't know the future. And step 10. And step 10 is do pros and cons if you find yourself resisting practicing acceptance. Oh, I forgot to point out where pros and cons is. Pros and cons is distress tolerance handout 5. And cons is distress tolerance handout 5. Which I don't feel the need to do right now, because I'm actually kind of just like, yep. This is one of those weird things about acceptance, is that usually I get to the end and I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, it's not like my material circumstances changed all that much. I guess my amount of suffering around it has changed. That I go from being like wanting to kick and scream about it to just being like, ow. Oh. Yeah, okay. That was painful. Yeah, I just kind of get to the end and I'm a little worn out, and and mostly just like, yep, that's what happened. Yep, those are my feelings about it. So there we go. This is going to be ongoing. I will continue to do radical acceptance around this, and I will keep you posted on my pain status. I'm going to be really, really fucking angry, though, if this like magically makes it all go away. I'll be grateful, too, but mostly I'll be angry, because that's how my brain works. Let's stop assuming we know how the future's going to go, Joy. You don't stop assuming we know how the future's going to go, Joy. You don't know how the future is going to go. Okay. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. I'm going to go sit and watch the same, 7 seasons of Bones over and over again, because she's got an autistic accent and I find it very soothing. So, thank you for joining me in this extremely painful and unpleasant episode. I hope those of you who also experience chronic pain or chronic feel seen. My fellow disabled baddies, the fact that any of us continue to live in a world that wishes we were dead is, stop laughing, Joy. Yes, it's remarkable that we're all still here. So, go forth, practice acceptance, and I'm gonna do my usual thing and end this super abrupt. This has been Let's Therapize That Shit, with your host, me, Joy Gerhardt. Please rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends about it. I'll see you next time. Intro and outro music is Swan Lake Opus 20 by Tchaikovsky, performed by the London Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Anatoly Fistulari, and released on LP by Richmond High Fidelity London Records in 1952.